Today we're taking a look at the Bitaxe Gamma GT Turbo, and this is one of the most serious looking Bitaxe miners that I've seen so far. I already made a video on the Bitaxe Touch, and I'll link that one up on the screen, and the setup for this one is going to feel pretty similar. It still runs AxeOS, it still connects over Wi-Fi, and it's still a part of that Bitaxe open source ecosystem. But the reason this one is interesting is the hardware. This miner has two BM1370 ASIC chips, a default hash rate around 2.15 terahashes per second, a default power draw of around 43 watts, and a bigger cooling setup than the other Bitaxe miners I've looked at. In this video, we're going to set up the Bitaxe GT, walk through AxeOS, look at the performance, and talk about who this miner really is for. Before we start, I think it's important to explain where this miner fits. The Bitaxe Touch is probably the most beginner-friendly version I've tested. It has that polished desktop feel, the built-in touchscreen, and it makes the whole mining process feel much more approachable. The regular Bitaxe Gamma is more of a simple open-source Bitcoin miner. It's compact, efficient, and a really cool way to learn how Bitcoin mining actually works. But the Bitaxe GT Gamma Turbo feels a little different. This one feels a little more performance focused. It has the same basic, simple Bitaxe setup, but physically it looks more serious. You have a bigger heatsink, a larger fan, an XT30 power connector, side-mounted boot and reset buttons, and most importantly, two ASIC chips instead of one. The Bitaxe GT Gamma Turbo is listed on Satoshi for $173.99 to $199.99 depending on your choices, and it comes with an optional power supply and stand. And as always, whenever you do order from Satoshi, you get this cool sticker sheet as well. So the real question I want to answer today is, what makes the GT Turbo different, and is it worth looking at over the other Bitaxe miners? The biggest immediate difference from the Gamma is that the GT has two BM1370 ASIC chips. The ASIC chips are the part of the miner that are actually doing the mining work. It's constantly hashing, submitting shares, and trying to find a block. At default settings, the GT gets around 2.15 terahashes per second with a power draw of 43 watts, so that puts it at about 18 joules per terahash. The simplest way to understand efficiency is that the lower the joules per terahash number is, the more efficient the miner is. It means the miner is using less energy to create its hash rate. So for a small miner, this is doing pretty good. Another difference is the cooling. This miner has a black anodized aluminum heatsink and a big fan to keep the ASIC temperatures under control. So on paper, this is still a Bitaxe, but it's a more powerful and performance-focused version of that idea. With that said, let's get into the setup. If you've watched other Bitaxe videos, this part's going to be really familiar to you. That's actually one of the nicest parts about the Bitaxe ecosystem, is that once you understand the AxeOS setup process, moving between different Bitaxe miners is very simple. I'm going to walk you through it again here, but I'm going to keep this section moving because the interesting part of this video is how the GT Turbo performs after setup. Once you plug the miner in, it should power on and it should start broadcasting its own temporary Wi-Fi network. From there, I'm going to open up my Wi-Fi settings, look for the Bitaxe network, and connect to it. From there, I can open up the setup page in my browser. This is where the miner lets me connect it to my normal home Wi-Fi network. Here I'll select my Wi-Fi, enter the password, and save. After that, the miner should reboot and join my network. Once it's connected, I need to find the IP address on the screen so I can open up AxeOS. You'll take that IP address, type it into your browser, and AxeOS will open. This is the main control panel for the miner. AxeOS is where we can see hash rate, temperature, fan speed, pull connection, shares, power settings, and miner status. From here, we'll need to enter the mining information. As I always say, there's many ways that you can mine with one of these things, but solo mining is the best for the network. So today we're going to connect to public pool and CK pool. Keep your eyes open though, because we are going to go over different mining pools that you can join in another video. To do this, you're going to open up the Pool tab in AxeOS. The good thing about setting up these Bitaxes is that they usually already have public and CK pools information filled out. But if you don't have it, you can pause and copy and paste this information. All I need to do from here is paste my Bitcoin address, the name of my device, and it is common practice to set the password to X. Once you've done this, you'll save and restart. Now congrats, you're mining Bitcoin. But now that it's up and running, let's go into AxeOS and check some of the stats. The first thing I'm looking at is hash rate. It's sitting at about 2.1 terahashes per second, which is about what we'd expect. Next thing I'm watching is temperature. Both of the ASIC chips are sitting at about 60 Celsius, which is great. Temperature matters a lot, especially with a device like this that has two different ASIC chips. If the miner is running too hot, you might have some instability, some lower performance, or some hardware errors. The listed fan is a 60mm by 60mm by 25mm fan rated around 3,500 RPM. The important thing in real-world use is whether it keeps the miner cool without being annoying to listen to. Finally, I'm going to check the pool connection and shares. Shares are basically proof that your miner is doing work and communicating with the pool. You're not finding a Bitcoin block every time you're submitting a share. Shares are just how the pool tracks that your miner is participating and doing valid hash work. This is one of those things that can be confusing when you're brand new to mining. You might see shares being accepted and think that means you're earning Bitcoin every time. But with solo mining, accepted shares mostly shows that your miner is working correctly. The big event would actually be finding a valid block. So after setting it up and letting it run, here's what I think about the GT Turbo. I still think the Bitaxe Touch is really strong because the screen and overall design make it really approachable. But the GT Turbo gets you around the same hash rate at around the same wattage, but for cheaper. If all you care about is maximizing your hash rate for the lowest price, the GT Turbo is for you. The two ASIC chips are the main selling point. That gives it more hash rate than the single chip models while still keeping the power draw low compared to traditional ASIC miners. The cooling setup also makes it feel more serious. The larger heatsink and the fan makes sense for a miner that's pulling about 43 watts of energy at default settings. So to me, the GT Turbo makes sense for someone who wants an open source Bitcoin miner that's still compact and home friendly, but more performance focused than other models. Overall, the Bitaxe GT Gamma Turbo is one of the most performance focused miners that I've tested so far. The setup is simple, but the hardware feels more serious. You get two BM1370 ASIC chips, about 2.15 terahashes per second at default settings, a larger cooling setup, and an XT30 connector. If you've seen my Bitaxe Touch video, the setup process is similar, but the GT is different enough that I think it deserves its own review. As always, the links to Solo Satoshi will be below to get your own GT Turbo or to check out any of your other home mining needs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.